Hi, this is Kevin Cook, BrainSell Technologies. I'm going to give you a little insight into insights. This is Sugar Discover, and we're going to walk through three key areas of Sugar Discover that will show you what Sugar Discover can do for you. Specifically, deliver insights to the insight feed, provide you with some out-of-the-box analysis through a library of insights that go beyond what your business is doing today, and finally, how you can create your own insights. Let's get started. I've logged into Sugar Discover, and it brings me to the Insight feed. Notice we've got the Insight feed, the Discover Zone, the library, and my data sets. The Insight feed is like my dashboard. It shows me the things that are important to me. Now, I'm accessing this feed through the portal, but it can also be delivered directly to your mobile device or to Slack or any number of other external tools. So what am I looking at here? I'm looking at several dashlets that show me things like idle opportunities, something I might have configured. For example, opportunities that, for whatever reason, haven't had any movement recently. I can see that there are 5 opportunities that meet the criteria that we've set up. If I click into this, I can see what opportunities make up this insight. I can see information about them, like the days they've been stuck in this stage. I can see things like who the owner is, what stage we're in, and this might give me a little bit of understanding as to what I need to address, who I need to call to try to move these to a new stage, to try to get them unstuck. Let's go back to our insights. Something else I can see here, my days in stage. Now, I can see the average days in a stage for opportunities, say for the qualification stage. Whatever's important to you, you can specify this. This is something that you would set up. And oh my goodness, I can see that it's rising, and it's gone up 27% month over month. Things are getting stuck in the qualification stage. Let's click on it, and I can see what is stuck at the qualification stage. As I drill into this metric, I can see a snapshot over time, this time-aware data in Sugar Discover that lets me see what the average time in qualification was for my opportunities over time. It looks like the enterprise team might be the worst offender. They've got the highest days in stage, over 10 days in stage on average for the qualification stage. So I know which team to look at in order to increase my overall velocity of sales. Let's go back to the Insight feed, see what else it gives us. My win rate trend, it's not all bad news. The next metric is a positive metric. It's important to look at things that are a problem, but it's just as important to look at areas that are working well so I can see what might be worth repeating across my organization. So let's dig into this insight here. Sugar Discover shows me the trends. What is improving my win rate? Man, it's going up dramatically. 40% over the past few weeks. Why is that? Well, if I look at the right-hand side, I can see that a purchase list has a 375% improvement over time. My next step would be to reach out to those sales managers, find out what outbound messaging they're using, and figure out how I can repeat that across my sales team. So my insights gave me direct information that's actionable and might help me improve my sales company-wide. Let's take a look at some existing analytics that give us a better understanding of our business and, more importantly, compare that to a historic snapshot over time of my data to see what trends I have at a broader and deeper level. So let's go to our library. I can easily search here to find various insights and look at maybe sales funnel or opportunities or anything else that we've created ahead of time. So I'm going to select my sales funnel. We've got a lot of insights in this list, so I better search for it. If I type funnel in the search, oh, I've got 3 insights that are appropriate. I'm going to select the analysis insight and see what it shows me. In this analysis chart, I'm looking at all the opportunities that entered a particular stage and specifically what stage they went to once they left that stage. That's something you cannot get anywhere else. Sugar Discover is unique in the ability to give me this kind of information. Now, due to the fact that we automatically have access to this historical snapshot, the analysis is easy. So remember, I'm looking at historic path of opportunities, not where these opportunities are at this moment in time, but where they have been historically. So for example, I can look at all of the opportunities that came in as a lead and see that of those opportunities that came in as leads, almost 5,700 of them went on to the discovery phase. Well, the bad news, though, is that almost 8,700 of them were suspended or abandoned for whatever reason. So as a sales manager, though, I want to ask the question, at what stage did we close, lost a deal? Well, I can do that by clicking on the legend on the right-hand side and see that I'm closing and losing deals in the evaluation or negotiation stage. At what stages am I winning deals? Well, according to my legend, I'm winning the deals mostly in the negotiation stage. So what do I learn from this? I can see that a majority of my suspended or abandoned deals were closed before getting to the evaluation stage, which tells me we're doing a pretty good job of evaluating or qualifying the opportunities before we spend a considerable amount of resources on them. I also notice that we're doing a pretty decent job at winning in the negotiation stage. Remember, by selecting closed won. So that means that not too many opportunities are dropping out as closed lost. This is a great piece of information that I as a sales manager would need to know as I manage my team. You can't get this anywhere except Sugar Discover. But let's go back to my library and see what else I've got here. Remember, I was searching for my funnel insights. Now I want to look at conversion and velocity. Let's see what that has for me. In this analysis, I want to take a look at all my opportunities for the last quarter, see, the last quarter, and look at how they moved through the sales funnel. Again, because we have historic snapshot data, we're not just looking at where those opportunities are now, but where they were over time and how long they stayed there. I want to point out that a lot of BI tools will give you a value of your pipeline at any given time, but they don't tell you anything about that value, what comprised that value. Sugar Discover, on the other hand, because it is completely time aware, gives us an understanding of not just what the value is, but what makes up that value. So in this example, I can see that opportunities, on average, stay about 12 days in discovery, 6 days in qualification, 23 days or so in the evaluation stage, and a whopping 34 days in negotiation. This tells me that we have an opportunity to improve our velocity by doing a better job establishing value early in the sales cycle in order to have more effective negotiations. We may want to invest in some best practices training around negotiation. As long as I've been part of a sales organization and doing my weekly forecast reviews, they've historically been run using spreadsheets. Now, this is usually because we don't want to understand where we are from a pipeline perspective today, but we want to see how things have been changing over time. I'm going to go back to my library, and I'm going to search for weeks because I know that I've got an insight that gives me my pipeline current versus previous weeks. Let's imagine we're about to go into our forecast, but instead of having to operate out of a spreadsheet, I can look at my latest information from Sugar Discover. In this insight, I can see my latest forecast along with how it has changed from the previous week. I've been saying this all along. It's not just the value of the opportunity pipeline that's important, but what makes up that pipeline. So for any one of these snapshots, I can drill into it and see what makes up that segment of the chart. So I've drilled into this segment of the chart that shows me my best case opportunities, and I can see which deals have the best shot of bringing into this pipeline right now. So as I drill down, I can see they have a higher likelihood of closing this quarter, and I know what to focus on and who to talk to. So we've seen some pretty powerful stuff here. I've looked at how Sugar Discover gives us insights in our feed, and they can be sent to my mobile device too. It also gives me a library of pre-configured reports that really let me dig into what's creating my sales pipeline or other metrics in my CRM. And it gives me the ability to ask and answer questions that come directly out of my CRM data. Those are my data sets. So now let's look at the things that you can build from your data. I'm going to look at my opportunities data. Of course, you could bring in any kind of data you want. And I'm going to ask a very simple question. Which sales team has closed the most business this quarter so far? First, we're going to filter on close date. I'm going to select the close date. I'm going to filter it by period to date and choose my quarter. I hit the apply button, and this adds that filter to my snapshot. Next, I want to look at deals that have already closed. I select stage, filtering it. I'm going to look at closed one and then hit apply. I've added 2 filters to this insight. Our filters are now in place, and so I can drag over the information I want to see. I want to categorize by sales team, so I'm going to drag sales team over to the columns. Drag and drop. Then in the metrics, I want to see the amount they have closed. To make it easy on me, I can search for amount. There it is, and I drag it down to the metrics field. Just like that, I've got insights into who's closed the most amount in the last quarter to date. It's pretty easy. It's the West team. That was a pretty easy question to answer, but now I want to ask a question that's a little more difficult and involves building what's called a cohort. A cohort analysis lets us look at metrics in defined groups. As always, we want to begin with a question that's begging for an answer. So I'm going to ask, how long does it take for a salesperson to ramp up, and what can I expect from them in month 1, month 2, month 3, and so on. So I'm going to create a cohort of months for this example. I've cleared all my filters, metrics, and almost all my columns. And I'm going to start from scratch. Now, this cohort is going to allow me to see and set proper expectations for the ramp-up period for a new salesperson and understand if we have an opportunity to improve the speed at which sales executives get ramped up. I'll start by focusing on the new ARR. That's annual recurring revenue. Again, how can I find it? I'll search. There's my ARR. I add my new ARR to the metrics. And I also want to look at this year to see if it's improving or getting worse. I want to look for the created date. And I'll take the user created date and I'll put the year into columns. Now, while graphs and charts, visualizations are a good way to analyze data, sometimes I need to be able to see data in a tabular format. I can do that by changing my visualization. If I select the pivot table, I can see that we have my ARR over years, and I can look at this data through a cohort analysis, grouping on tenure, which will give me a view of how long it takes a sales rep before they create their first opportunity in the pipeline. I'd like to filter out the salesperson's tenure for the first 6 months of these years, so I'm going to search for tenure. I find it here in months. I'm going to filter it. I'm going to select month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm only applying the first 6 months because I assume that by the 6th month they are contributing. I'm going to add that as a filter to my columns, and it changes my pivot table to show me the tenure in months and how much each sales rep is contributing to the new ARR over that time. Now I can see if we've improved over the years or gotten worse. I can also add conditional styling to see patterns much more easily. To do that, I go to my little paint roller. I select color scale to the new ARR, and I can choose the color scale that I wish. In this case, I see that the ones in red indicate a pretty low ARR contribution, but in green, I can see that somebody here was really working hard. But overall, it's clear that our account executives are taking a longer runway to be able to start contributing to revenue, so that in this area of our organization, I know what I need to focus on. So, quick recap. What have we seen Sugar Discover do? We've seen in our insight feed that Sugar can take us directly to things that we like to look at, like opportunities that are stuck. I've seen in my library other insights, other reports that I can look at that give me predefined insights into my sales pipeline or anything in your CRM. And finally, we looked at our data set to figure out how I can build my own insights based on the data that I've gotten out of CRM. The bottom line is that Sugar Discover allows you to provide your sales management with really insightful data that you just cannot get from your raw Sugar data. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that if you've got any questions about Sugar Discover, you won't hesitate to give me a call.